Okay, let's talk about something that is, I know, incredibly stressful, having your money locked up by PayPal. And if they've seized your entire balance, it can feel like you've hit a brick wall. But I'm here to tell you, you have options. In this explainer, we are going to break down a really clear legal strategy, specifically for you if you're in the European Union, on how to fight back and get your money. So, does this sound familiar? Your account got limited, you did what you were told and waited the 180 days, and then nothing. The entire balance just vanished. And when it vanished, you probably saw a transaction in your account history with a memo. Since about mid-2022, they've been calling it loss recovery. Before that, the memo used to say something like PayPal's damages caused by acceptable use policy violation. You know what? They mean the exact same thing. And if you've seen either one of those, you are in the right place, because this guide is built for you. And here's some really good news right up front. The legal arguments we're about to put together, they're your foundation for everything. It doesn't matter if you're filing an internal complaint, escalating to a mediator, taking it to arbitration, or even if you end up in court. This core strategy is what you're going to use. So, here's our game plan. First, we're going to completely reframe the problem, and this is so important. Then, we'll dive into the specific EU laws PayPal is likely breaking. After that, we'll talk about gathering your evidence, lay out a simple 3-step action plan, and finally, we'll boil everything down to one single powerful argument. All right, let's get into it. And I really need you to listen to this first part because it is the most important mindset shift you can make. This entire process, it is not about defending what you sold or why your account was limited. It's about challenging the unfair contract they made you agree to. Just let that sink in for a second. You are not on trial. Your job isn't to defend your business. Your job is to attack an unfair contract term. The moment you switch your focus from what did I do to what does this contract unfairly allow them to do, well, that's when you start to win. So let's look at what they claim versus what they actually do. If you read their policy, it talks about $2,500 in liquidated damages, but that's not what happens, is it? No. What really happens is a full balance sweep. They take everything. It doesn't matter if it's 500 euros or 50,000 euros. They confiscate the entire balance, and that massive difference is a huge weakness in their case. So, how do we fight this? We use the law. Let's look at the specific EU directives that are totally on your side. And don't think of these as boring legal documents. No, think of them as the powerful tools in your legal toolkit. Okay, tool number 1, and it's the biggest one in the box, the EU's Unfair Contract Terms Directive. This law was literally designed to protect people like you from one-sided take-it-or-leave-it contracts, just like PayPal's. So what exactly is an unfair term according to the law? Well, it's pretty simple. It's any clause that creates a huge imbalance of power, stacking the deck against you, the consumer. Does that sound at all familiar? And get this, the law itself basically calls out this exact situation. In its own examples, it says an unfair term is a clause that forces you to pay a disproportionately high sum as a penalty. I mean, taking your entire balance without proving a single cent of actual damage, that's the very definition of disproportionate. Now, this is a really important distinction to make. We're not arguing that what they did is illegal in a criminal sense. Our argument is much more precise. Under EU consumer law, a penalty clause that isn't tied to actual proven damages is considered an unenforceable penalty. And that means exactly what it sounds like. They can't legally enforce it against you. And honestly, that's just the start. This isn't a one-off issue. PayPal's actions could also be violating your basic right to get your electronic money back. It could be seen as an unauthorized transaction under payment rules. And it just shows a total lack of due process. When you start stacking all these breaches up, you build a really, really strong case. Okay, enough of the legal theory for a minute. Let's get practical. It is time to roll up our sleeves, gather your evidence, and build your case file. First things first, map out a simple timeline. You need the exact date your account was limited, you need the date you got any emails promising your money back after 180 days, and you need the exact date they took the money. Getting these dates right is super important. Now this might be the most critical piece of evidence you have. Seriously, if PayPal ever sent you an email or a message inside their system saying your funds would be available or withdrawable after 180 days, you need to find it and save it. That is your smoking gun because it directly contradicts them taking the money for good. So here's a quick checklist of what you need to gather. Get your full account history, especially if it shows you had very few or zero chargebacks. Save every notice they sent you. Screenshot that damages transaction. And this is key. Save any emails where you asked them for proof of their losses and they either ignored you or couldn't provide any. All right, once you've got all your evidence in a folder, you are ready to take action. And the path to recovery is a really clear 3-step escalation process. First, you have to start with a formal written complaint directly to PayPal. Now, don't expect a miracle here, but you have to do it. When they almost certainly reject it, you immediately escalate to what's called an alternative dispute resolution body, like a financial ombudsman. These are often free for consumers. And at the same time, you file complaints with your country's financial and consumer regulators to put even more pressure on them. So after going through all of this, what's the one single message? What is the core argument that you are going to repeat over and over and over again? Your strategy has to be laser-focused. You're going to completely ignore any arguments about whether you broke their rules. Let them say what they want. Your entire case is about the punishment, not the supposed crime. You are challenging the seizure itself as an unfair and totally disproportionate penalty. That's it. Okay, now for a reality check. This is not a magic bullet, and a full recovery is not guaranteed. If your account had tons of chargebacks, or if you actually caused financial damages that PayPal can prove with invoices and numbers, this is going to be a much tougher fight. But, and this is a big but, for many, many users who didn't cause any real damages, these exact arguments have helped them recover their entire balance. So let's just boil this whole thing down one last time. What is the one sentence, the single most powerful line that you need to memorize and use everywhere? This is it. This is your mantra. Without proof of actual loss, seizing my balance is a disproportionate and unenforceable penalty under EU consumer law. That one sentence has everything. It's legally accurate, it's powerful, and it puts the burden of proof right back on them, which is exactly where it belongs.